The memorial was beautiful, if you liked sterile floors, flickering xenon chandeliers, and condolences recited from cards written by interns who'd never met the dead. A priest of the Ulvex species hovered near the lectern, all limbs and lacquered shell, intoning the names with ceremonial detachment. The translator softened his rasping into gentle syllables. Amari Richard, age 7. Coda Richard, age 10. Sasha Richard, age 8. Nils Richard, age 6. Mira Rose Richard, age 11. May their memory be encoded forever. The crowd bowed their heads, though a few aliens clearly did, so only because others were watching. The hall was filled with diplomats, mediators, and representatives from 5 planetary systems, all arranged like a gilt bouquet, the kind that smelled of burnt protocol and panic. Tom Richard stood at the front, hands neatly folded behind his back, face unreadable. His black suit was old Earth style, pressed so cleanly it seemed carved from gravity itself. His eyes were blue, but not soft. They were the blue of dry lake beds and winter steel. Beside him, Mira Richard wore gray. Not morning black, not white for cultural purity. Just gray, like fog before a storm. Her dark hair was pinned with precision, and her lips pressed together in a line that could cut bone. She hadn't cried. Not here. Not once. Chancellor Velrix of the Drakari High Council cleared his throat with a sound like gravel tumbling into a vat of syrup. On behalf of the Orvaxis Academy and its staff, we offer our deepest apologies. The containment failure, while tragic, was unforeseeable. It was an act of chaos, not malice. Tom turned his head slightly, just enough to acknowledge the statement. His smile was polite. Too polite. Of course, he said softly. Accidents do happen, especially when containment fields are deactivated 2 minutes before schedule, and the security footage is, how did you put it, irretrievably corrupted. Velrix shifted on his 6 legs. Those matters are under investigation. As they should be, Mira said. Her voice was a warm balm poured over razors. Children deserve answers, even if they are no longer here to hear them. A ripple of discomfort passed through the alien officials. One delegate from the Varn species dropped his glass and murmured something about vibrations. The room suddenly felt too quiet, like the eye of something. Ambassador Rinfaro of Earth stepped forward, a nervous twitch pulling at his left cheek. He had the look of a man who'd been handed a basket of snakes and told to sing lullabies to them. Mr. and Mrs. Richard, if I may, the Terran Coalition is prepared to assist in any reparations deemed. Mira held up one finger. He stopped. We're not here for reparations, Ambassador, she said. No. Pharaoh glanced at Tom, who hadn't moved. No, Tom confirmed. We're here to witness how the galaxy mourns 5 human children who were under your care. Velrix spoke again, more carefully now. We grieve with you. Tom stepped forward, clasping his hands together as if delivering a eulogy. Chancellor, may I ask, how many Drakari hatchlings were killed in the last decade during diplomatic service exchanges? Velrix blinked. None. Tom nodded slowly. Ah, so this is your first. The silence rippled wider this time. Somewhere near the back, a Kalthari envoy murmured something in his native tongue. His aide paled. Mira stepped toward the ceremonial table. On it sat 5 data shards, each encoded with a child's memory crystal. Human tradition meshed with alien hardware. She picked one up. It shimmered softly, blue and gold. Sasha's. You see this? She asked no one in particular. This is what's left of my daughter. She loved strawberry ice cream and hated shoes. She wanted to be an engineer and once disassembled a climate drone to see how it worked. The drone exploded. So did our lawn. There were a few uneasy chuckles. Mira didn't. She was a troublemaker, she whispered. And now she's a file. She set it down carefully, like a blade returned to its sheath. Tom placed a hand on her back. He smiled at the gathered dignitaries. We know many of you traveled far. We won't keep you long. There's just one more thing. He turned to the Ulvex priest. May I speak a blessing? The priest hesitated. Humans rarely ask such a thing. Then, with slow deference, he bowed and floated aside. Tom stepped to the podium. He looked so ordinary. Middle-aged, neat hair, calloused hands. A logistics officer, they'd said. Retired. Calm. He exhaled. My people, he said quietly, have a tradition when we bury our young. We say their names, as you did. Then we make a promise. Not to them, to the world. The room leaned in. We promise that this will not happen again. And if it does, it will never happen twice the same way. The translators paused. Some alien minds needed extra processing time for nuance. Mira joined him at the podium. We know this was not all of you. Perhaps not even any of you, directly. But you house the ones who did it. You protect them. You've already moved on. Earth, Tom said, does not move on. Velrix began to speak, some procedural clarification, but Tom raised a hand. This was not an act of vengeance. Not yet. This is our eulogy. Our last words before the soil covers them. Mira leaned in, her eyes now shimmering, not with tears, but something colder. If we were vengeful, she said, you'd know. They both stepped back. A light flickered in the wall panel. Ambassador Farrow's comlink pinged, and he paled. He stepped aside, mumbling. His voice was audible only for a few words. They're at the base already? I thought, no, they weren't supposed to, just delay them. Tom turned, adjusting the cuff of his sleeve. It bore a small thread of silver embroidery, just a line, barely noticeable. An old symbol, thought retired. 2 wings crossed behind a flame. Mira touched his arm gently. They're getting nervous. He smiled again, wider this time. Good. Means they're starting to pay attention. The guests began to disperse, murmuring polite discomforts, their gazes never quite meeting the couple's eyes. A few tried. Those were the ones who walked away, rattled. The priest floated to Mira, bowing low. Your words were striking. Words, she said, are all we're allowed. For now. Outside the memorial chamber, the sky was burnt gold, the kind of light that made metal shine and shadows stretch too long. The couple walked through the garden corridor, quiet. They expected tears, Tom said. They expected anything but us, Mira replied. Behind them, the doors sealed shut with a hiss. Surveillance systems deactivated exactly 3 seconds too late. A brief static flickered across the consoles. Mira stopped by a bench and looked at the artificial pond. Children had played there last week. Her children. They think we're broken, she said. That grief makes us weaker, slower. It used to, Tom said, before we remembered who we were. A nearby drone blinked to life. It scanned them, registered civilian clearance, returned to patrol. Neither of them spoke again until they reached the waiting shuttle. Coordinate sent? She asked. Tom handed her a small crystal, with extras. She took it. A glint passed between them. Not joy, not relief, purpose. As the hatch closed, Mira turned to him. Do you remember what Sasha said, before we left Earth? He thought. Then, she said if aliens ever messed with us, she hoped we'd make them cry. Mira nodded, her voice low. Let's not disappoint her. The ship lifted silently, vanishing into the Orvax's sky. The stars didn't blink. The galaxy turned, uncaring. But someone was watching. In a shadowed alcove, a small figure hunched beside a column. A junior communications tech from the Etrix Confederation. He hadn't meant to be there. He'd just wandered in, fascinated by the humans. Now, he stared at the empty air where they'd stood. They hadn't raised their voices. They hadn't made threats. They'd mourned. And it had been terrifying. He sent a message, fingers shaking. To Etrix High Command. Subject, urgent, Human Response Protocol. Message, do not provoke further. Their grief is not like ours. It sharpens them. He hit send, then wiped his brow. Above, in orbit, something blinked once, then vanished. Just a glitch, the systems would say. But the glitch had coordinates. And it had been smiling. The orbital base loomed over Orvaxis, like a gilt-wrought scar in the sky. Built in spirals of obsidian alloy and polished white steel, it was meant to evoke peace, progress, transparency. Instead, it looked like a monument to silence, one built by hands eager to forget. The Richard shuttle docked without issue. Permissions had been pre-approved. Officially, this was a courtesy tour. A grieving couple's search for closure. Unofficially, the base staff had been warned to accommodate them with dignity. No questions. No interference. Tom stepped off first. He wore the same black suit from the memorial, now with a muted gray overcoat. Mira followed, expression unreadable behind tinted lenses and a veil that whispered against her cheekbones as she walked. The silence between them wasn't cold. It was strategic. They were met by High Marshal Clutvax himself, a Drakari war-born bred for intimidation. 7 feet tall, plated crimson armor fused to his natural carapace. Ceremonial blades folded across his back. His species respected dominance, but this greeting was not respect. It was theater. Mr. and Mrs. Richard, Clutvax rasped, bowing just enough to imply superiority. Allow me to offer condolences in person. The loss was regrettable. Tom offered a handshake. Clutvax ignored it. Marshal, Tom said pleasantly, regret implies surprise. But I've read your logs. This wasn't unforeseen. It was ignored. Clutvax's eyelids, thin black membranes, blinked once. Containment protocols were followed. The malfunction was anomalous. Mira tilted her head. Anomalies don't erase data logs. Someone had to do that on purpose. This is not an interrogation, Clutvax snapped. No, Tom agreed. That comes later. The Marshal's frame stiffened by degrees. Your species values peace. I suggest you remember it. Myra's voice was soft. Peace is what we offer when we're given the truth. Lies are expensive. Clutvax hesitated, then gestured sharply. Follow me. They passed through silver corridors lined with kinetic shielding panels and subtle weapon turrets. The walls hummed with a quiet threat of readiness. Mira noted every security node. Tom noted where the cameras didn't quite cover the corners. This facility, Clutvax began, leading them down a hall, houses over 1,000 multi-species cadets and researchers. The Academy segment was annexed to orbital quarters during a resource reallocation process. Tom pretended to admire a holographic mural of interspecies cooperation. Reallocation. Such a polite word. We use it for moving furniture. Mira walked in silence, her fingers brushing the edge of a control panel. It flickered slightly, and in the reflection, she saw the Marshal watching her. The tour continued. They passed living quarters, observation decks, training halls. Clutvax spoke like a politician reading from a script. It all felt rehearsed. Tom asked about staffing rotations. Mira asked about maintenance protocols. Each question was a blade wrapped in ribbon. Clutvax tried to deflect. The Richard couple recorded everything. Eventually, they reached the site. This was the containment chamber, Clutvax said, voice quieter now. Incident occurred during a mock evacuation drill. Training gas systems misfired. Mira stepped inside the scorched, sealed room. She saw the burn patterns. The containment gas release valves, meant for simulating threat lockdowns, were fried open, not closed. There's no residue from drills, she said softly. This wasn't a simulation. Tom picked up a small charred object from a floor, half of a rubber bracelet, scorched but still legible. It read, "Be kind. Be brave. Be human." Coda's bracelet. He didn't speak, just slipped it into his pocket. You told the galaxy it was a systems failure, Mira said, that the fire suppression lagged. But these marks are classified, Clutvax snapped. This investigation is not under your jurisdiction. Mira looked at him, not with anger, not even grief, with precision. Tom stepped closer. Would it surprise you to know I worked orbital logistics for Earth's Third Fleet during the Sorrenti blockade? Clutvax scowled. Irrelevant. It's not. Because the way your systems failed? We've seen it before. During sabotage exercises. Clutvax turned. Are you accusing the Orvaxis Academy of treason? No, Tom said. I'm telling you, whoever killed our children trained for it. They moved on in silence. The next stop was the Central Command Corps. Technicians shuffled aside, nervously pretending not to stare. One tried to salute Tom before realizing he had no rank here. The Corps was humming, alive with data. Mira walked to the primary terminal. "I'd like to review the environmental logs," she said. "Standard grieving protocol." Klutvax hesitated, then nodded. 5 minutes. Limited access. Tom stepped beside her and tapped in his credentials, civilian clearance with a diplomatic override. Mira synced her wrist implant to the core via a microthread tucked beneath her ring. To the casual observer, they were simply accessing a standard file. What actually uploaded was a cascading packet of Earth-coded observation subroutines. Tiny digital spiders now crawling silently through the system. Mira smiled faintly. "Did you know," she said to no one in particular, "that humans used to send condolence baskets after funerals?" Tom didn't look up. "Fruit, cheese, sometimes chocolate. I think we're bringing better gifts." Klutvax coughed. "Your time is up." She disconnected. Back in the corridor, they passed a row of cadets. One, a young Vornite recruit, straightened and whispered, "They were your kids, weren't they?" Mira stopped. "They were." "I'm sorry," the cadet said. "We were told it was fast. That they didn't suffer." Mira crouched until they were eye to eye. They were locked in a room that filled with fire. They were children. They suffered. The cadet looked away, ashamed. "Don't forget that," she said, "or someone will do it again." When they reached the shuttle bay, Tom paused at the window. Below, Orvaxis gleamed like a coin in a dark pool. "They think we're waiting," he said. Mira nodded. "Let them." An alert chimed on his comm. It was encoded in Earth military protocol, one layer below official. An old designation. Gemini Protocol, Amber Wake. He showed it to her. She didn't smile. "We're green," she said. "Full unlock. Just like we planned." They boarded the shuttle. Inside, Tom activated a private node. A holographic map bloomed, showing the orbital base, 3 nearby outposts, and a blinking red line tracing from Earth's outer defense grid. Phase 1 had always been reconnaissance. Phase 2, well, they had a saying in their line of work: "Don't pull the trigger until you've reloaded twice." Mira laid a hand on the console. The logs showed deliberate breach. Access came from someone inside. Tom nodded. "Which means someone thinks they're clever." "They're not." He glanced at her. "Are we?" She thought for a moment. "No. We're just angry." The shuttle lifted, silent and steady. Below, the base continued its performance, shining, polished, afraid. Tom opened a message queue. He selected a contact labeled Director Ophiuchus and typed, "Target lock confirmed. Assets planted. Phase 3 standing by. Regret transmission delayed." He paused, then added one more line. "P.S. They really shouldn't have touched the kids." He hit send. Mira sat across from him, eyes closed. "Not asleep. Rebuilding." "They think this is about us," she murmured. "It's not," Tom replied. "It's about every human child they thought was safe here." Silence stretched between them. "Do you remember," he said suddenly, "when Sasha made us learn that stupid Earth lullaby?" Mira nodded. "Golden bones and copper wings. Dreams don't die, they only sing." She made us sing it before bed. Every night. Myra's voice was a whisper now. She said it would keep monsters away. It didn't. No. But it brought us back. The shuttle broke orbit. On the base, an alarm triggered, not a loud one. Just a soft ping. A system integrity check that failed. A packet sent. One technician noticed the anomaly and flagged it. But his supervisor, a Gorloth hybrid, laughed it off. "Human signal noise," he said. "They always leave clutter." The technician deleted the log. 4 seconds later, the base's central archive quietly duplicated itself to an untraceable node. Then it shut down. Not all of it. Just the truth. In deep orbit, a dormant satellite blinked online. It had been placed there a year ago, meteor survey equipment, registered to a Terran Science guild that didn't exist. Its sensors stretched, scanned, connected. Mira opened her eyes. "They'll start to suspect. Let them. They'll ask who we really are." Tom smiled. "And then they'll wish they hadn't." The stars blurred outside their view. The shuttle's engines hummed low. Mira leaned back. "So, what do we call this phase?" Tom considered. "A warning shot. Do we fire it?" He tapped the screen once. "Yes." From orbit, a single signal beamed to Orvax's base. It wasn't violent. It didn't explode anything. It simply relabeled the base's ID beacon from Orvax's containment and peacekeeping to Site 42A, in memoriam. Then, the beacon turned off. Inside the base, the lights flickered once. Just once. Then everything returned to normal. For now. The conference chamber aboard the satellite station glittered like a jewelry box, all polished opal panels and soft glow lights meant to calm the nerves of planetary negotiators. It was built to soothe, to cradle conflict into paperwork. But tonight, it felt like a trap disguised as therapy. At the center, Tom Richard adjusted the cuff of his suit, glancing at the holograph of the Orvaxis orbital base. Its beacon had gone silent 12 hours ago. Not offline. Just quiet. Like a predator breathing before the lunge. Mira stood beside him, arms folded, back straight. She traded her morning veil for a dark navy field coat lined with silver threading. Her posture radiated patience, not peace. She looked like a woman counting minutes until someone admitted something regrettable. Representatives from 12 species were present, circling a domed table like unwilling participants in a game they no longer understood. Chancellor Velrix was there, simmering, trying to recover his authority. Marshal Klutvax hadn't come. The excuse was military obligations. The reality, his base had begun bleeding secrets into human hands. Mr. and Mrs. Richard, Velrix said, leaning forward with mandibles half-splayed in the Dracari equivalent of a forced smile. Your appearance at this summit is unorthodox. It implies escalation. Tom offered that familiar, too gentle smile. You mistake our presence for threat. We're here for conversation. The Etrix delegate leaned back, nervously tapping a stylus. And the deactivation of 3 beacon arrays in neutral sectors yesterday? Was that part of the conversation too? Mira finally spoke. We didn't deactivate them. They just stopped responding after they answered a very simple query. What query? Asked Avar Noble. Are you hiding anyone who murdered children? Tom said. A hush fell. Mira turned slowly to face the assembled, as if memorizing every face in case they said the wrong thing next. We've received partial data from Orvaxis, she said. Redacted logs, wiped footage, audio overlays. But they weren't scrubbed very well. We found 5 names. Velrix's tone hardened. You accessed private military intelligence. Tom nodded. Correct. That's an act of war. Mira raised an eyebrow. And 5 murdered human children isn't. The silence snapped taut. Somewhere near the back, a reporter's recorder pinged once, then shut down as its data feed was overwritten by a polite but untraceable Earth interference script. Tom stepped forward, reaching into a slim case beside his chair. From it, he pulled a narrow black object, no larger than a violin case. He set it on the table. The sound echoed. What is that? Asked a Calthary minister, voice high and thin. Tom clicked the latches. The case opened with a quiet hiss. Inside, a smooth metal prism gleamed under the lights, ink dark, ridged with minute notches. It looked like a sculpture, or a relic. A gift, Tom said, from humanity to the galaxy. He tapped a code into its side. The lights dimmed. A projection flared upward, showing a map, stellar systems, dozens of them blinking red. Each point connected by thin golden threads. These are the coordinates of every system where Earth has quietly posted listening drones, AI analysts, and silent scouts. You were aware of some, but not all. Velrix stood, wings flaring. You're bluffing. Tom didn't look at him. The thing about bluffing, Chancellor, is that it requires uncertainty. You're not uncertain. You're terrified. Mira touched the projection. The map reshaped, shrinking into a spiral cluster. 5 dots turned blue. These, she said, are where the 5 responsible officers were relocated. Not fired. Not imprisoned. Transferred. They were following orders, cried Avarn. From whom? Tom asked. Because we'd like a word. A Gorloth representative rose. If you proceed with this insanity, you'll fracture galactic peace. Mira tilted her head. You think peace is a pond we're afraid to ripple. But peace died in that containment chamber. All that's left is a reflection of who's still breathing. Velrix hissed, claws tapping the table. Then what do you propose? Revenge? No, Tom said. Demonstration. With a flick of his wrist, the projection changed again. A live feed appeared. One of the 5 redacted officers, Commander Jural of the Vorn Council, was shown sitting in his quarters, unaware. Then the lights failed. A shadow moved behind him. The feed went static. Seconds later, a new broadcast lit up across 5 systems. You took 5 children. We took 5 ghosts. The words were calm, white text on black. Tom shut the projection off. Gasps and curses erupted. You've assassinated government officials, shouted Velrix. No, Mira said. We removed criminals. Quietly, painfully, precisely. You can't just bypass law. Tom looked bored. We didn't bypass it. We wrote our own. A ripple of fear passed through the room. The kind that doesn't start with anger, but with the slow understanding that you're not sitting across from grief. You're sitting across from something far older. Something earthborn. A diplomat from the Lunar Trade Syndicate finally said what they were all thinking. What is this really about? Mira leaned forward. This is about memory. About not letting the galaxy forget that humans do not go quietly into eulogies. Tom tapped the coffin again. You wanted containment. We brought a coffin. Now we're asking, who else do we put in it? A pause. Then, a murmur. Fear. Velrix slammed a fist down. You're threatening war. Tom looked at him with pity. No, Chancellor. I'm explaining the cost of pretending this isn't your fault. Across the system, alien military fleets began activating contingency protocols. Quiet alarms blinked beneath desks. Emergency rooms filled with species in sudden panic. No gunfire. No invasion. Just the knowledge that a reckoning had begun. Mira stepped to the center of the room. We're not looking for apologies anymore. We're looking for participation. Cooperate, and we stop. Obstruct, and we demonstrate again. Someone whispered, What do you want? Tom's smile returned, slow and clean. We want the truth. Delivered. Documented. And we want it fast. Because for every day you delay, we open another box like this one. And eventually it won't be just 5 red dots we erase. A pause. The silence turned into something else, acknowledgement. The session dissolved quickly. Delegates fled under the guise of analysis, coordination, fear. Only Velrix remained behind, his exoskeleton pulsing with tension. You've done something irreversible, he said. Mira regarded him. So did you. The Chancellor looked down at the coffin. They'll call you terrorists. Tom shrugged. That word's lost meaning. We prefer parents. He walked out without another word. Mira lingered. You could have told us, she said. You could have admitted it was your soldiers. You could have helped us bury them properly. But you tried to erase the fire and blamed the smoke. Velrix didn't reply. She turned and left. Outside, the corridor echoed with diplomatic staff shuffling like ghosts. No one made eye contact. The Richard shuttle waited, silent and sleek, parked in the VIP tier. Tom entered first, hands steady. Mira followed. They sat across from each other. He exhaled. We're past the point of questions. She nodded. Now we give him a deadline. He typed a message into a secure relay. To Ophiuchus Command. CC EarthGov Black. Subject. Final phase prep. Message. Coffin opened. 5 returned. Send the list. We start at sunrise. Mira touched his hand. Do you think they understand yet? Tom shook his head. They will. Outside the ship, a technician froze as he noticed the shuttle's ID had changed since docking. He stepped closer. Instead of the diplomatic emblem, it now read, EM-42, Human Emergency Retrieval Activated. The last time those codes had been used, 3 moons had gone missing. He backed away slowly. Inside the shuttle, Mira removed a silver locket from around her neck. She opened it. Inside were photos, real ones, printed old-fashioned. 5 children, laughing, running, living. She traced their faces with one finger. Next target? She asked quietly. Tom looked at the names beaming in. He chose one. We start with the one who smiled at their funeral. The engines lit. The station grew smaller in the rear display. The galaxy, meanwhile, had just begun to panic. The Galactic broadcast went out at precisely 0 hour. UTC aligned. No preamble. No anthem. Just a screen flickering into existence across systems, on trade ports, security decks, diplomatic outposts, even in luxury theaters orbiting rich core worlds. It was a human signal, and it began with silence. Then came a woman's voice, calm and clear. "This is Mira Richard. You killed our children. We asked for the truth. You gave us silence. So now we speak louder." The image cut to a starfield. 5 suns hung in frame, one by one marked with small red dots. Then came the list of names, officers, commanders, bureaucrats, each implicated in the cover-up or operation that led to the deaths. None were alive anymore. Tom Richard's voice followed hers. "To the citizens of the systems currently harboring suspects, evacuate. You have 6 hours. This is not a threat. It's a courtesy." The transmission ended. By the time the first governments reacted, Earth's fleets had already moved. The flagship Aegis, ascendant uncloaked in the orbit of Trackari Prime, a jewel planet wrapped in oceans and symphony clouds. A system previously untouchable under treaty law. But treaties didn't matter anymore. Children had died screaming, and that debt had a cost. Tom stood on the command deck, watching the world spin beneath him. He looked neither angry nor triumphant. He looked like a man measuring weight with his soul. Mira approached. Her coat was gone, replaced with a standard fleet jacket. Earth navy blue, gold-stitch trim. A locket still hung at her throat, tucked close to her chest. He glanced at her. Evac confirmed. 63% cleared. Some civilians chose to stay. He nodded. "Warn them." She stepped beside him. "Last chance to blink." "I won't." The comm lit green. A junior officer's voice cracked over the line. "Targeting gridlocked. Awaiting command authorization." Tom stared at the planet. "Authorization Richard 01. Begin surgical sweep. No atmospheric scorches." "Yes, sir." In the quiet that followed, beams of light lanced down from the sky. Not fire, not brute destruction. Precision. Surgical force. Structures dissolved. Governmental cores reduced to carbon. The world still turned. The seas still breathed. But every name on the list vanished. Mira inhaled slowly. "You're calm." "I'm focused." "You're angry." "I was," he said. "Now I'm accountable." She placed a hand over his. Not to comfort, to share the burden. The Second Fleet hit the Valdari cluster, where 2 of the remaining conspirators had fled to mineral station hideouts under diplomatic asylum. Earth Command bypassed the system's defense nets in 12 seconds. The feed from ground level showed an alien diplomat screaming into a camera, "You're violating galactic order." The camera turned as a human soldier in charcoal armor walked past him, silent, eyes glowing behind his visor. The diplomat screamed again, "Don't you understand what this will mean?" The soldier didn't reply, but Earth did. A quiet message sent via data stream to every capital. "Humanity has re-evaluated the cost of compliance. You taught us that silence buys death. Now you will learn what resolve purchases." In the depths of their ship, Mira accessed a file. It wasn't a weapon plan. It was a memory. Sasha, age 8, sitting on a porch with a telescope, explaining the stars. Mira watched it 3 times. Tom found her there. "She wanted to live on Valdari," she said. She did. Mira looked up. "They'll call us monsters." Tom knelt, his hand brushing hers. "Only the ones who thought we were safe to harm." From the core systems, resistance finally organized. A coalition of 9 species assembled a counterforce, a symbolic gesture. They deployed ships to Earth's colonies in neutral sectors, hoping to force negotiation through presence alone. The Earth fleet didn't respond with fire. They responded with gravity. At edge range of the coalition force, humanity's Terran grav array uncoiled for the first time in 3 decades. A ripple in space folded the starfield. Gravity inverted. Coalition ships scattered. 2 imploded. None returned. Tom monitored the data without expression. That was phase 4. We're past phases, Mira said. Now we're into memory. She turned from the screen. Any response from the Galactic Council? Formal apology just came through. Diplomatic regret. Standard verbiage. Unnamed perpetrators. No admission. She nodded. Then we moved to conclusion. Later, aboard a neutral moon station, Tom and Mira walked into the central hall. The Galactic Council stood assembled. No guards. No weapons. Just old beings in robes that once signified importance. Velrix was there. His wings drooped. Tom approached the dais. This is your last meeting on the subject. Velrix tried to speak. Please. You're done speaking, Mira said. She walked to the center of the chamber and dropped something. It echoed. A child's boot. Burned. Half melted. Tiny. The room fell silent. Mira looked at them. You taught us to bring flowers to the dead. We brought consequence. Velrix stepped forward. You've had it. Retribution. The names are gone. The systems are broken. What more do you want? Tom answered. We want your fear. He let the silence stretch. We want every species who thought us small to remember what happens when we're wounded. We want our grief carved into your calendars. A Sithri elder stepped forward. That's not justice. That's legend-making. Tom didn't flinch. Legends endure longer than apologies. He opened a hologram, placing it in the center of the chamber. It was a proposal. No more Earth children in off-world schools, unless protected by human security. No more civilian relocation without Terran oversight. A memorial planet, untouchable, open only to mourning humans. Velrix laughed bitterly. You're rewriting protocol. Mira looked at him like she'd seen his bones. You rewrote our lives. The council debated for hours. They tried edits, suggestions, pushback. But the human fleet waited. And eventually, the council signed. On the ship, Tom sat in the observation bay as Earth's moonrise came into view. Mira joined him. You know this won't bring them back, she said. I know. Do you feel better? He looked at her. No. She sat beside him. Me neither. Below, the stars shifted. War had come and gone like a ghost. Across the systems, humans were suddenly feared again, not for their numbers, but for their memory. A final message went out. Quiet. Not a broadcast. A whisper coded in Earth dialect, only decodable by anyone with a soul. It said, You taught us silence. Now hear our echo. Mira closed her eyes. Sasha, Amari, Koda, Nils. Mira rose. Children, not soldiers. But in their absence, a war had risen. And in its end, a lesson was burned into stars. Do not kill what you don't understand. And never assume humanity will forgive just because we smile when we grieve.